Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our time together. I'm Lori Lamentia, and I'm here with the shiny Trisha Fisk.
Good morning, everybody.
And today we're going to spend some time recapping and reviewing the process, the conscious creating process that we did for the last 6 weeks. And just to kind of really recap and really get clear about what I felt was reinforced as we did the 6 weeks. And I know Trish has some things she really had reinforced as we did this, because we've done this conscious creating process a lot over the years. And every time I'm just surprised and delighted by what I've experienced as we work through the process. And just to kind of recap what we did, we talked about that on Amazon, we have our conscious creating through yoga workbook. And the steps, the 5 steps, the transformational steps that we've walked through in the last 5 weeks are awaken, the awakening to who and what you really are. And as you awaken to that internal power that you have, then you align, you plug your toaster in. We talked a lot about that to the unlimited energy. And then now you know what a powerful creator you are, and you feel aligned and plugged into that unlimited energy. And then the next step is alchemize, which is transmuting any old beliefs, old ideas, any limitations about what you're creating, and just burning them up in the fire of your hara or the fire of your belly, or releasing them in whatever way feels right, so that you can really attract. That was the next step, the creation or the experience you're wanting to have. And in that attract, you're really feeling what it feels like to live as your experience, not someday, but now. And then the last step, allow, is a beautiful, really wonderful part, which is I know it's done, it's done, it's done. I'm on the path and I'm allowing it to come to me in whatever unexpected or magical way I might not have thought about, but can happen. So it's a really beautiful process. And I hope that as people really start to embrace it, they see the power as you can do all the steps at once, or you can play with one at a time, but together they make a very powerful approach to conscious creating. And then, of course, you add all the yoga pieces, and you've really got that experience of a mind body connection. So, Trish, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to let you kind of talk about what you experienced, what you've relearned, um, and kind of summarize your experience of the conscious creating through yoga process.
Sure. I think one of the most important pieces for me, and it is what yoga helps me with in everything, is not being in my head so much, but feeling physically the sensations and that connection to higher power through my body, not so much my mind. And this process reminds me of that all the time, especially because I have a lot of distractions going on right now. I have a lot of changes going on in my life. I have a sister who's physically going through a lot in the hospital. And this has been a wonderful reminder for me to keep coming back to this. Life is full of yes and no's simultaneously. There's
Hmm.
beautiful things happening, and there's things happening that are not so beautiful. And it's can get easy to get caught in the not so beautiful stuff and not see the beauty that's there at the same time. So this process really assists me in holding space for both. There's both. There's the beautiful and the wonderful me as a creator, dreaming and creating. And there's and creating things that sometimes I don't even think of myself. They just, something pops in and it's like, that's it. I'm going there. That's that allowing piece. But it's important for me to keep reminding myself that, in fact, the more I remind myself of the beauty, the more I'm able to stay present for the part that is not beautiful, the painful stuff. Because, and we've talked about this before, if you close yourself off to the painful part, you won't be able to fully experience the beautiful part. It's like you got to be there 100% for the whole show,
Mhm.
no matter what it is. So this process, it reminds me of that. Um, Death is a part of life. Not everything is a beautiful birth, but it's part of life. And it doesn't stop the beauty from happening. It's like a simultaneous thing. So this has been wonderful timing for me moving through this summer, to focus on this and to keep coming back to this.
Beautifully said. All that. That felt really um resonated as very true and lovely. It wasn't ahead. And I think that's one of the things that's so powerful when we allow ourselves to remember. And sometimes our beliefs might get in the way, the beliefs that we're not loved, that we aren't taken care of. Look at all these things that happen in the world. There couldn't possibly be an intelligence that loves, And I think that there's that that's when our mind is trying to keep us safe, and it shuts out that beauty, like you were saying. And it really asks this, any process, any part of life asks us to step back and say, wait a second, I can see the beauty even in the middle of this chaos and change, and the why. And it's been making me lean into this intelligent intelligence. We talk about that this unlimited is also extremely intelligent. And I think that intelligence also means that it does intelligent things, meaning it doesn't do dumb things, and it can make the best of even marginal things, free will choices that we make. At any point, we can come back to it and realign to something loving, and incredibly brilliant that we couldn't have ever orchestrated. And I look at my course of doing this over since we started 20 years ago, and it just deepens, like you said, it keeps getting deeper and deeper and more beautiful. And it makes me able to see the world as this beautiful place where intelligence is playing with all these options that I certainly wouldn't have orchestrated. But I look at over time and I go, that was a pretty good one. Nice. I couldn't have played that out that way. And so, for me, reinforcement of this brilliant intelligence that I am a part of and that I am connected to, that got really reinforced for me this time around with the conscious creating.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I really became aware of during this is that timing, um, because something doesn't come to fruition within 10 minutes, which is
Right.
what I prefer, doesn't mean it's not coming. And so there's a again, it goes back to that for me. The, the, where I resonated the most through this process was with the allowing piece,
Mhm.
is trusting and allowing it to come in whatever way it does and not be limited by how I want to see it come, when I think it should come, what it's supposed to look like, stuff like that. The allowing piece is, in a way, a willingness to be surprised sometimes. And I've had a couple surprises in the last couple months while we were doing this that were bigger than I would have dreamed of.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes. Allowing, and that is not that, is a muscle, which is weird. That, we were talking a lot about muscle, but, when we choose to lean into that intelligence, when we choose to trust, I'll use the word trust, or know that it is operating and orchestrating everything beyond our wildest imaginings, that leaning in really allows us to be available to what comes. And I think you're right. I think allow of all these pieces, well, they're all so important, but it's probably sometimes one of the hardest ones because it's hard for our minds to go, how could that possibly work? You're not taking enough action, and all those beliefs that hide behind and get in the way kind of sometimes of this natural flow of creation. There's this wonderful QTube. It's a woman who wrote a book, and it's I am and I create, period. That's it. That's why we're here, to create. I am, and I'm here to create my whatever, everything, and never regret for sure. But
right,
that allow piece just makes it so much fuller and more magical.
right. And even I love the not no regrets, because even when we try something and it doesn't work out, we learn an awful lot.
100%.
Yeah, and we learn a lot about what we don't want, which is important to creating what we do want, right? Right,
Totally. And then
right,
being okay with asking for, learning to ask for it or allowing ourselves to express, well, that's not a fit for me. So it's really interesting once we get clear about what we are creating, that don't want is such a valuable. In fact, I think there's a chart in the book. You start out with what you don't want, and then you flip it to what you do want because that flipping gives you a lot of clarity, and sometimes it's easier to start out with what you don't want than,
right.
so yeah, that clarity comes, and that's the beauty of being on earth in duality. You get that, creator, when you're in the unlimited oneness, you don't have that. I don't believe as, souls, let's say.
I think every time I do this, a different thing stands out to me a little more.
Mhm.
Because I can think of times of doing this where the alchemizing piece was the big one for me, and times where I've done it where just attracting was the big one to me.
Yes,
But
you're absolutely right. Yeah, we were like, we got to attract, we got to manifest, right?
yeah, I think so much of it has to do with where you're at with the whole process right now. One of these will speak to you a little more maybe than some of the other ones, or maybe not. Maybe they all do. My experience is usually that one of them,
Yes,
each time I do it, stands out a little more
true.
clearly
Yes,
than,
absolutely. And I
yeah.
was thinking that was my other big thing that got really reinforced was those deep beliefs, that when you don't believe you can create or that you have the power to be a creator, or there's a limitation somehow, that those those underlying like beliefs can get in the way of that full flow, and so spending some time in alchemizing any beliefs that you have around being able to create or what you create matters. Those are all things. And if you do the journaling and you do the deep dive, I really felt like this time, especially to uh, that ability to create, it can't be undermined, let's say, by those beliefs that say you're measly and you don't matter. And they keep coming back to me, that the muscle I'm developing is thank you for sharing, but I'm not going there with you anymore. I don't want to go there in the I don't matter and what I want doesn't matter. That's not fair to me and it's not fair to my creations either. So yeah, you're right. The alchemy, different times, different things pop up. And of course, each of these steps makes it pop up, right? Which is kind of
Right.
cool.
You're intentionally inviting that to come in and show you something, right? So
Powerful,
yeah,
right?
very intentional. It's a very intentional
It,
process.
yes. And the other thing I really felt that got reinforced again and in fact, to the point that I called you and I'm like, we need to put an abundance module together because I I th- the underlying unquestioned, there's this unquestioned assumption about scarcity limitation, like something we've just been taught. I don't know if it's the human condition, the whole, the duality thing, but I just realize how important an abundance consciousness is to this process. Because if you believe in the unlimited, unconditional abundance, creating's a lot easier. It's just so much more fun and easy because you assume the like you said, the abundance, the beauty, the grace, the capability. And if you come from this unconsciously that, well, not sure, not, there's limitation and what about all that stuff, it just slows things down and it just feels like it's heavy to me. Um, and so the one this that got reinforced again, and of course, watching you go through what you've walked through not only with your sister, but also with the creation you're in the middle of creating your business. It's beautiful to watch when abundance steps in. When we step into our abundance, all of a sudden you feel, oh, that's going to be easy versus, oh, I got to slog through this. And
Right.
sometimes when we're creating, we create slog because unconsciously we believe in the limitation of ourselves or of the unlimited, of life and of the earth and all that stuff. And so that really got reinforced for me again. If you can lean into this process, start out with an abundance mindset and an abundance felt sense, it really helps magicalize, for lack of a better word, really sprinkle it with fairy dust in a way that kind of coming at it from a regular human doesn't do, I guess is what I want to say.
So I want to share some of the quotes that we have in the book that really reinforce this for me. Life is not an act of discovery. Life is an act of creation from Conversations with God. What is the meaning of life? To find meaning in life. Michael Gelb. You must be the change you seek in the world. Gandhi. Don't meditate on your desire, meditate as your desire. Pandit Rajmani Tigunaya. Anything which is created in the world comes from within us. We are the creators, the genesis of all things. As such, we have tremendous power and ability to make all things happen. This is true creativity.
Mm, beautiful.
All flowers, oh, I'm sorry, that's by Anand. All flowers have an angel standing over them saying, grow, grow, the Talmud. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Benjamin Franklin. People say that what we are all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we are really seeking. I think what we are really seeking is the rapture of being alive. That's what it's all about. Joseph Campbell. And then the last one, Abraham. You get what you think about, whether you want it or not. That's a
Oh,
tremendous reminder that,
yeah,
yes, where your thoughts and where your energy is going, that's what you're going to create. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are creating your life.
right. And isn't that the most important message in this whole thing is that you are a power creator, so do it consciously
Right.
because you, and at the end or in the middle or wherever you are, taking I don't want to use that word responsibility, but taking that creative ownership, I did that, I did that, I did that, whether I like it or not, I did it. And
Right.
the cool
Yeah.
thing is, well, then I can adjust. And that's what you were saying earlier. And you learn. When you create something, you learn. And to be not afraid, but to step forward and say, I learned that, and I'm going to modify or adjust and not get scared and retract and go like, I'm not going to try anymore. That that's not what we're here to do. We're here to expand our creative capability and know it in its fullest.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, is there anything else you wanted to add for this wrap up?
No, I think we've said it all.
I do too. And of course, the other thing that came when you were going through those quotes were, this isn't a one and done kind of experience. We've been doing this for years. And every time you walk yourself through it, it is a reminder that we put a structure or a process together. So you are making conscious things, but you always remembering that every minute you're creating, this process was to help you be more conscious and more elevated and more intentional as you
Yes.
create. Um, and so, but don't go, oh, I did it and nothing happened, or I did it and something happened, and well, just do it so you make the consciousness that I am awake to who I am. I am aligned and plugged in to the great unlimited source. I do release what's not mine and what doesn't work and the beliefs that don't serve me. With the way I talk and walk and speak, I do attract constantly. And in any moment that I have clarity and presence, I allow that magic to flow through me. Simple but profound.
Lovely.
Yes. So have a wonderful week, everyone. We look forward to, so we're going to switch back next week to, we're not, well, we'll always be do conscious creating, but we're going to go back to our formal podcast. I hope that you go and listen to the last 6 sessions and really marinate in what we talk about so you can marinate in your creative power. It's a very cool thing. It's a superpower that most of us don't realize we have.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
Swaha.